the streets of this city we love so much and march.
Let's march for our future and for the future of humanity in a peaceful but decisive manner.
Change is coming!
And so are we! What do we want? Climate justice! What do we want it now? What do we want? Climate justice! What do we want?
Hello to our listeners who've decided to learn more about some things that we as a school are doing for the world. We are a group of MIP4s working on this podcast to try and bring awareness to the great projects happening in our community.
Today we are going to be talking about the climate march that we as a school participated in. We marched, we yelled, and we were a part of history. Greta Thunberg, a Swedish 15-year-old political activist, has inspired over 1 million people worldwide to actively protest against climate change, including almost 50,000 people in the Netherlands. Last week, on the 15th of March, was NL Doet. As UWC strives for a sustainable future, this meant that our entire school took action to help society as well as the planet. Whether that was gardening or helping animals, we hope our school made a difference. One of the most influential activities that took place was the climate march. Not only is Maastricht taking action in regards to climate justice, but there have been over 2,000 protests in over 125 countries on Friday alone. But as for our school, most of the DP students as well as multiple staff members and MYP4s attended. Before the march, we interviewed Brian, who is an environmental systems and studies teacher at our school. Brian is very involved in the sustainability aspect of our school, and so we wanted to hear what he had to say.
Our first question is, why do you think it's important for us as a school to be marching against climate change?
So I think climate change is an issue that defines the generation and is the biggest threat to the planet right now, and current actions aren't enough. And as a school that stands for sustainability, I think we need to be out there doing something, but I think as any member of the human race, we need to be out there doing something.
What do you think as a school we could do more against climate change?
I think there's a lot of things we could do. So not just going to protests, but also the school used to buy green energy and doesn't anymore, and we need to push and change that. There's a lot of travel associated with UWC that can't be avoided, but there be things we can do to encourage that travel to be much more trains and not planes, and to limit it to when it's only necessary. There's a lot of little actions we can take in terms of lights that are on in the building, monitors that are left on overnight and over break, what we eat in the Mensa. There's lots of individual changes that can be made there, and we should make those both personally and have that be school policy as well.
And do you think after today the government will change their policies?
I don't think it's ever as simple as one protest changes things, but I think this protest is part of making it clear to the government that this is an issue that young people care about and that many people care about. And I think every little bit increases the pressure. It's already on the radar. I think this contributes to the decisions being better decisions. And so because of that, it matters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What Brian said is absolutely true. This issue is the biggest threat to our planet, and it's on us to do something. This is our home and our only home, and it's facing some really big problems. Sea levels are rising, ice caps are melting, species are going extinct, and a lot more. If we don't act now, we will be too late. We need to turn this around, and we are the key to that. We all have voices, and they need to be heard. On Friday, we stood up against the government, and we let our voices be heard. 3,500 people marched through Maastricht and showed everyone they care and that they want to save our planet. More specifically, young people, as we know that this generation is our future. We are the future. This march is only the beginning. Now we have to start pushing and fighting until we reach our goal. As it is important for the voices of our generation to be heard, we interviewed 2 students, a DP student who inspired our school to join the march, and one MIP4 student who attended the march.
So, hi, you went to the climate march with us, and we have a few questions to ask you. So, firstly, why do you think it was important to go to this climate march?
I think it's really important because climate change, it's happening, it's affecting everyone. and it's one of the most effective way to put pressure in the politicians and the big companies to make a change.
And do you think these marches will change the government's policies?
I think it will, and I hope it will, because it was a lot of people and it's happening around the whole world.
And lastly, what do you do in your day-to-day life to help stop climate change?
Well, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I became vegan just because of the climate change. And I think I'm mostly conscious about how my decisions can have an impact in the climate change. So really small things like not using plastic or having always my own bag when I go to do grocery shopping and things like that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, so today we're here with Emma Bluffs, and she went to the climate march with us. So we have a few questions for you.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was so important to go to this climate march?
So I think as a member of Gen X or Gen Z, it's really important to be fighting for a cause that you're passionate about. For us, this is our future. And I think the climate march was more of the action way of telling your point of view in politics. Rather than just talking online or saying certain things to your friends, it was more of a way to actually express how you felt about something. And I think that's so crucial because a lot of times we can just sit in a room and say stuff without actually doing anything. And even though the climate march wasn't necessarily doing something to improve climate change, but it was more of an action against the government, which is one of the main causes of no change going on in our politics system.
So do you think these marches will eventually change the government's policies?
I hopefully believe that they will in the future change that. I think as a people, rising together and coming on one collaborative effort is enough to change the government's mind, because they go a lot with the trends and what the people have to say. And if the government is not corrupt, then they will go with whatever an entire mass of people is saying. And I think when we all come together and doing things like skipping school and our work and our university to fight for this cause, it shows them that we're really passionate about them and about these issues. So I think that that'll really help in the future, changing their minds and perspectives on what the people want instead.
And lastly, what do you do in your day-to-day life that helps stop climate change?
So as a 15-year-old, I'm not the one who runs the household, so I don't make a lot of major decisions. But there are a lot of things that I can do to help my family instead, to do things like recycling or helping them out in the garden, small in-house chores that I can do, and also mostly just speaking a lot in my schools, because I might not be the person in control, but I have a voice to be heard to the people who are in control. And so through the climate march and also on social media and sharing my political opinions is really, really important, and talking to other people about it is really great. Also, SAA class helps us to kind of make a more sustainable effort in the environment, so I think that that's really helpful too for me in school to kind of help out with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We hope you learned something new about climate change and its effects and what we're trying to do about it.
And as Leonardo DiCaprio said, climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species, and we need to work collectively together and stop procrastinating. Thank you.